On August 28, 1990, an F5 tornado tore through Plainfield, Illinois, with almost no warning. In less than 30 minutes, it killed 29 people, destroyed hundreds of homes, and became the only F5 ever recorded in the United States during the month of August. It was Tuesday, August 28, 1990. The Weather Service had predicted sunny skies. The town held about 4,500 people. It was a growing suburb southwest of Chicago, the kind of place families moved to for the schools, for space, for safety. At the National Weather Service office, meteorologists were tracking thunderstorms moving across northern Illinois. The radar technology of 1990 was primitive by modern standards. Doppler radar was still years away from widespread deployment. The NWS radar in Marseille, Illinois, could show precipitation, but it could not detect the rotation inside a thunderstorm. They issued a severe thunderstorm watch, not a tornado watch, a thunderstorm watch, for what would become the deadliest August tornado in American history, the strongest to ever hit the Chicago metropolitan area. At 3:15 p.m., the storm cell that would produce the tornado was crossing Kendall County. At 3:28 p.m., the tornado touched down near the Wheatland Plains area. It moved northeast. It intensified rapidly. F5 strength, winds exceeding 260 miles per hour. At 3:30 p.m., it struck Plainfield High School. At Plainfield High School, 107 football players were on the field running two-a-days. Coach Wayne DeSuter saw lightning in the distance. In the larger gym, the girls' volleyball team was about to have their home opener. Coach Kathy Cartwright walked toward the hallway. She stopped. Something was wrong. She spun around and screamed, "Get out of here! Now! Move it!" The girls poured into the hallways. The football players joined them. They knelt against the walls. Some players had the presence of mind to put their helmets on. Then their ears popped. The school's tornado siren went off, and then the building came apart. When the students ventured outside, they couldn't grasp what they were seeing. One player, Ben Spiker, said, "We didn't know where we were. There were no trees, no houses, no landmarks." Kathy Cartwright's premonition had saved more than 100 students. But not everyone inside Plainfield High School survived. Stephen Hunt never heard the siren. The semi-trailer that killed him was thrown from the parking lot into his classroom. He died instantly. Henry Bergquist was somewhere else in the building, a 76-year-old man doing his job on a quiet August afternoon. He died inside the school he maintained. The third fatality at the high school was a child who had been airlifted from Wheatland Plains earlier. He survived the initial impact. He died later from his injuries. His name was Ryan Glazer. The tornado continued northeast. It struck St. Mary's Elementary School. It destroyed the Plainfield School District Administration Center. At each location, the story was the same. No warning, no sirens, no one running for cover, because no one knew to run. The Joliet radio station that was broadcasting the first severe weather bulletin had its transmission tower taken down by the storm. The message never reached the people who needed it.
By the time the NWS realized the severity of what was happening, the tornado had already carved a path through 3 communities. At 3:38 p.m., the tornado reached the Crest Hill Lakes apartment complex. The storm slammed into the buildings, walls collapsed, roofs were torn away, and when it was over, 8 people were dead.
The day after the tornado, National Guard members searched a cornfield near the complex. They were looking for bodies. The tornado had picked people up and thrown them. Some were found hundreds of yards from where they'd last been seen. A survivor who lived at Crest Hill Lakes described it this way. He said the room went dark. He thought,
Wow, it's getting really dark. And then he woke up. He had been unconscious. He had been thrown. And when he came to, the building was gone. That's what an F5 tornado does to a human being. It doesn't give you time to be afraid. It takes the light first, and then it takes everything else. The married couple killed in their car just outside the complex. Their names were Alida and Frank Riffle. They were not inside their apartment when the tornado hit. They were in the parking lot. They were trying to leave. They never made it. 12-year-old Thomas Egizio was looking out a third-floor window when the storm hit. The next thing he remembered was waking up in the corn, his leg shattered, his 4-year-old sister Leslie lying nearby. Their mother Vicky and older brother were found crushed in the remains of the building. Bodies were recovered both from the collapsed apartments and from the field beyond. The following morning, searchers continued walking the corn rows while a battery-powered alarm clock could still be heard beeping somewhere in the debris, marking a morning that would never come for the person who set it. The tornado that tore through Crest Hill Lakes was almost completely rain-wrapped. Low clouds and heavy precipitation surrounded the funnel, turning it into a dark, moving wall of water and debris rather than a classic, visible tornado. Outside the immediate path, most people never saw a funnel at all. There are no known photographs or video of the tornado itself for that reason. By the time the storm reached Crest Hill, it was still producing violent winds, but its true nature remained hidden from both the public and the radar operators watching from Marseille. That lack of visual confirmation, combined with the limitations of the non-Doppler WSR-74 radar then in use, left the National Weather Service without a clear picture of what was happening on the ground. No tornado warning was issued for Plainfield while the storm was still active. The failure to warn, and the technology gap it exposed, became one of the strongest arguments for accelerating the nationwide installation of the WSR-88D Doppler radar network. Within 2 years, the new system would begin replacing the older conventional radars that had been unable to fully reveal the threat on August 28, 1990. The new Doppler network changed everything. With the ability to detect rotation inside storms rather than just reflectivity, warning times improved dramatically. What once required visual confirmation, or a clear hook echo, could now be identified earlier and with greater confidence. Out of that same push for better communication came the tornado emergency, the highest level of warning, reserved for situations where a violent tornado is expected to strike a populated area with catastrophic potential. It is a product born from the lessons of storms like Plainfield. In the days that followed, Dr. Ted Fujita of the University of Chicago conducted a detailed damage survey of the entire path. Fujita mapped the track from the initial touchdown near Oswego through Plainfield, Crest Hill, and into Joliet. His survey confirmed a continuous damage path of 16.4 miles, with a maximum width of roughly half a mile. In open farmland northwest of Plainfield, Fujita documented extreme ground scouring, mature corn completely stripped from the soil, and several inches of topsoil removed. These were the signatures he used to assign the highest rating on the scale he had created, F5. The rating was based on estimated winds of 261 to 318 miles per hour. It remains the only F5 tornado ever officially recorded in the United States during the month of August. Fujita's maps also highlighted how unusual this storm was in other ways. It moved southeast instead of the more common northeast track. It was heavily rain-wrapped, with low clouds and precipitation surrounding the funnel so completely that no clear photographs or video of the tornado itself exist.
Outside the immediate damage path, most people never saw a classic funnel, only a dark, moving wall of rain and debris. That combination of extreme intensity, unusual direction, and near-total lack of visual confirmation made the storm especially dangerous. In the hours after the tornado lifted, search and rescue efforts continued through the night. National Guard units and local responders walked the cornfields near Crest Hill lakes looking for victims. Debris from homes and apartments was scattered hundreds of yards from the buildings. Entire blocks in Plainfield, Crystal Lawns, and Warwick estates were reduced to foundations and scattered wreckage. The recovery stretched on for weeks. Homes were rebuilt. The high school and St. Mary Immaculate were eventually replaced. But the event left a permanent mark on how the region prepared for severe weather. Locally, siren systems were improved, and public education on tornado safety was expanded. The communities that lived through August 28, 1990, carried the lessons forward in the way they planned, warned, and responded in the years that followed.
Today, Plainfield looks very different from the town that was torn apart on August 28, 1990. Neighborhoods that were reduced to foundations have been filled with new homes. Trees that were stripped bare have grown back. The population has grown many times over. What remains is the memory and the quiet determination of a community that refused to stay broken. If this documentary helped you understand what happened that day, consider sharing it with someone who might not know the story. And if you have your own memories of the Plainfield tornado, leave them in the comments. This is InfoVault. Thank you for watching.